What's up, guys? I wanted to make another YouTube video and give an update on all my Mercedes cars that I have right now. I know it's been a while since I posted. I just been busy with work, just fixing up a bunch of things on these cars. But yeah, I just want to give you an update on how the cars are doing. Since my last video, I think I just posted about the CLS55 that we bought. And now we have another vehicle that I recently bought, which is an R129 SL500, which I'll be showing in this video soon. First, I want to give an update on my 2005 E55 AMG. So in the last couple of videos, I did a headlight intake. We did the primary and secondary heat exchanger. But from there, haven't really done anything to it. Just been doing a lot of maintenance on it. Just recently, well, not recently, earlier this year, and by the end of last year, it had transmission issues. It started to slip and it left me stranded a couple times, and well, it pretty much was losing pressure, and yeah, we just needed to get it rebuilt. So there's a long story behind the whole transmission issues my E55 was giving me, but pretty much I bought a used transmission from eBay, which is a big mistake, and you know, pretty much we learned my lesson. Bought it used from eBay, paid about like $2,000 with the shipping, and right after it got installed, swapped, it started to have issues with, I believe, the torque converter, and it started to like slip. And right away, you know, I knew that, you know, I got screwed over, and I pretty much decided to just rebuild the original transmission it had, which I should have done in the beginning. But yeah, you know, never buy anything used from eBay, especially, you know, engines, transmissions, because you never know these sellers, you know, where they get their parts from, what type of car. You know, these cars are used, you know, for racing, doing burnouts, you know, drifting, and yeah, you just gotta be very careful out there and just, you know, always rebuild your transmission. So the transmission and torque converter are rebuilt, and so far it's, you know, been good. Now moving on to the interior. The only thing we really did was has this custom airbag, I guess, wrap. So pretty much I was able to find some carbon fiber vinyl, and we removed the airbag and, you know, professionally upholstered the airbag with this custom red carbon fiber vinyl. We did the stitching right there, and you know, I did it to match the seats. I couldn't find a color that closely matched the tone of the red, but this was like the closest one. But so far, you know, it gives it a very unique look, and you don't really see these on any other, you know, 55 models or Mercedes in general. But yeah, you guys can always hit me up for custom upholstery work for your Mercedes, for any vehicle. You guys want something like this, or like the seats, doors, headliner, you guys can always hit me up or leave a comment. Let's go ahead and start her up. You got the push button. Oh yeah, I think I forgot to mention, but it has this carbon fiber diffuser I found. The fitment wasn't the best, but it doesn't look too bad. This is how it sounds. It still has the C63 mufflers. Resonator delete with an X pipe. Here's a beautiful M113K engine. So the E55 is about to hit 200,000 miles, which is pretty much nothing for these M113Ks. You know, I've seen many with over 300K miles, and in my opinion, as long as you keep them stock, don't drive them, you know, aggressively every day, and you know, do your maintenance on time, oil changes every 3,000 to 5,000 miles, you know, these motors should last you for a very long time. So yeah, so far I haven't done too much to it, just maintenance like I said, oil change, transmission work, and yeah, I'm planning on keeping it stock. Just, you know, I want this to be more of a reliable vehicle, you know, a daily, and just, you know, I just want it to last, you know, 500,000 miles, because these E55s, I'm pretty sure in like, you know, 5 to 10 years, they're going to be going up more in value. I don't think they're going to go like crazy value, but, you know, these are, you know, very good investment cars, especially if you can get them really cheap. But yeah, on to the next vehicle. So here's my newest vehicle, a 1998 SL500, the R129 generation. And I've actually been looking for one of these for over a year, and I was able to find one actually in my city. As you can see, this has the sport package, which is not too common to find. Has the chrome AMG monoblock wheels. The chrome is a little bit flaky on two of them, but two of them are not too bad. So it has the sport badge right there. So on the body, the only bad things are the hood. It's some paint work, starting to fade a little bit. But the back part of the vehicle, of the body, is the rear trunk. As you can see, the paint, you know, has faded pretty bad, and this brake light needs to be replaced. Doesn't work. But when I bought the vehicle, I believe it actually sat for a couple of years outside, which is a shame, because, you know, these shouldn't be really left, you know, on the public streets, just, you know, sitting there waiting to be hit, or just, you know, more sun damage to the paint. The R129 SL500, 320 and 600s from the era of Bruno Sacco, the legendary Mercedes designer. I believe he said that the R129 SL was one of his best creations, and I can see why, because these came with you know, the hard top and soft top convertibles, and everything was just built with, you know, the best quality. Not like nowadays, all Mercedes, they have cheap plastic in the inside. Just, it's not the same. So in my opinion, I prefer the older Mercedes, like the 90s, 2000s era, just because that era was just different from, you know, the new generation, and I just prefer to get these. These headlight seals need to be replaced. They're pretty hard, but like I said, the car sat outside in the sun for a while, and on the side is a little bit worse, but this is the only thing that needs to be replaced. The headlights are actually glass, so they're never going to fade, which is, you know, pretty sick. So the interior is actually not too bad for the age. So this is a 1998, and I got lucky. I got the black interior. The seats, you know, you're obviously going to be a little bit worn out, but I don't see no major tears. You know, still intact, just, you know, a little bit right here. But we went ahead and did the headliner in the orange vinyl, so we are planning on doing an exotic color, which is orange, for the seats, steering wheel, and doors. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a unique one-on-one interior look for the SL R129 generation. Let's go ahead and start her up. So it has no codes. Oil pressure is right there. What I like about these cars is they actually have an oil pressure sensor, not like the, you know, 2000s era Mercedes. You know, they don't have oil pressure sensors on the instrument cluster. So if you guys know, these cars has a legendary M119 V8, which came before the M113, and they are super smooth. Super smooth. There's no leaks. I recently did an oil change on it, W211 liquor moly. New filter. The filter is actually right here on the side, which is a bit different from what I'm used to, but not too bad. So the only issues I had when I bought the vehicle is this vacuum hose was cracked and it was throwing a code, And you know, this is a 98, so a lot of hoses are going to be replaced. You know, rubber, it gets hard and starts to crack over time, but we went ahead and replaced it. It's also very important to replace fuel line hoses. Yesterday we just replaced that one, which I've seen a couple of videos where it gets very brittle, and then, you know, it's actually pretty bad and dangerous because, you know, it can leak, lose pressure, and, you know, can cause a fire. So replacing fuel lines here in the engine bay, hoses, you know, it's very important. But so far, you know, I've only done that. Replace the air filters. At first I thought I was having the mass airflow sensor issues, so we went ahead and removed it and cleaned it. But the, you know, the vacuum leaks and codes were actually coming from the hose, and it's been replaced like I already mentioned. And we also replaced the oil cap, had a crack, so I went ahead and replaced it. So in my opinion, the M119 V8 and the M113 and M113K are the most reliable engines Mercedes ever made. This one I have has 144,000 miles. You know, for the year that it is, I think it's pretty low, and I think I got a good price on that as well. You know, in terms of the mileage, clean title, and yeah, I didn't really need much. Just you know, paint work for the trunk, you know, the rims, but you know, for the price I got it for, it wasn't too bad. So I got this vehicle for $3,500. Like I said, it's clean title, has a sport package, the AMG monoblocks, chrome. Right now I'm trying to fix the convertible. It's having some type of electrical issue. I see no leaks on this, so which is a good sign, but yeah, it's having some type of electrical issue, which, you know, at the moment I'm not going to worry about, because the hard top and the soft top can be removed manually, which is pretty cool. So the early M119 V8s, from what I did in my research, they had some wiring harness issues. They had a different you know, system of injectors, and I went for the 98 because everything was already updated and fixed. And the only really issues these ones have, the 98s, 97 and 96 I believe, are the oil tubes on the right here underneath the valve covers. They are plastic, and over time they, you know, start to make like a rattling noise. And you know, there's updated aluminum oil tubes, which are a little bit pricey for what I did my research on, but that's the only bad thing about these M119s. But you know, it's just, you know, something to look after, and once it's done and you upgrade to the aluminum ones, you really won't have that issue. So the 96, 7, and 8, I believe, are the most years people are trying to look for, just because, you know, all the little issues the earlier models had were fixed, and you know, there's nothing really much that can go wrong with this engine, nothing major, you know, which, you know, from this era, just different time frame where everything was just built to, you know, to last, and quality was, you know, the best. So the R129 was made for the SL320, the SL500, and the SL600. For the 320 it was straight 6. I believe it's better to get a model after the 96 model, because I believe the earlier models have some head gasket issues, but that was only with the higher mileage SL320s. But with the SL500, first it was the M119, which is this one, and then it switched to the M113 with the 99 model up into the 2002, which is the last year of the R129 SL500. And then we have the SL600, which is a 6-liter M120 V12 engine from Mercedes. Obviously it's going to be higher maintenance, more expensive, but I've heard really good things about them. They're very smooth, and from what I heard, they're pretty valuable as well. The cool feature about the SL500 that I like is to open the hood, the handle's right there, which is pretty sick. You just put your hand in there, and most of them is going to be up here, but on this one it has it right here where you have to pull the star logo, Mercedes star logo, which is a nice detail. So yeah, you guys let me know if I got lucky with this find. So like I said, this is a 1998 SL500 R129 generation with the M119. Has a sport package, AMG monoblocks, chrome, and black interior, clean title for $3,500. So far, I'm planning on keeping this car. Like I said, I've been trying to find one of these, and you know, you don't really see Mercedes built like this anymore. So definitely a keeper in my opinion. But yeah, let's go on to the next Mercedes. Guys, so here is my 2006 CLS55 AMG. And from my last video, I've done many things to it, and I'll be going over it in this video. So in the front, I went ahead and repainted the bumper, fixed the cracks, and painted the grille black, which I believe it gives it a more aggressive look. So my look, so after painting the bumper, the car was parked and it got side swiped and it left some scratches, and we went ahead and just this actually happened recently, went ahead and painted over it, and you know, later on I'm gonna, you know, paint it with the right black paint code, but it's not too noticeable. But yeah, that's my look. As you guys might see on my YouTube shorts, we went ahead and did the interior, a custom two-tone black and gray color to match the rest of the interior. I found this carbon fiber vinyl inserts to replace the Alcantara. So a lot of people like the way we did the seats. You know, it's a one-on-one. I haven't really seen anything like this before, especially on the CLS. And we also bought this Alcantara steering wheel. The steering wheel I actually found on Facebook Marketplace. It came off a SL55 and has a more sportier flat bottom Black Series style, and I really like the design. The only downside about it is that it's all Alcantara. Y'all many know Alcantara wears out faster, especially, you know, when your hands get sweaty over time, dirty, and it gets dirty as well. And you know, we are planning on reupholstering this in leather, but for now it's all Alcantara. And we did this carbon fiber vinyl airbag upholstery with the custom blue stitching to pop out. Like I said, this is a one-on-one interior, very unique look that we decided to go with. And we also did the dash, removed the dash, we wrapped it with carbon fiber vinyl, which looks very clean, as you guys see. And we also did the center console as well, the back one as well. Here's a closer look at the seats. Like I said, you guys can always hit us up on Instagram, is in my bio, for your custom upholstery work for any vehicle. Hit us up. For the rear, I found this carbon fiber spoiler off my friend. He sold it to me for a really good price. Everything else is pretty much the same. Has a resonator delete. There is a cold start video on my channel, YouTube short. So overall, the body of the CLS is not too bad. No major paint issues. Let's go ahead and start her up. This one has the push button as well. The exhaust is not too loud. You know, I think it's perfect. Might do maybe something else in the future, but I don't want it to be crazy loud. The stock CLS, either way, compared to the W211 E55, it has a slightly better exhaust noise. It's slightly louder and a little bit more aggressive. But this is how it sounds with the resonator delete. Nothing too crazy. This has a legendary M113 V8 like the E55. So right now the engine is pretty much stock. It only has intake spaces, as you guys can see. Recently did the valve cover gaskets, clean them so there's no more leaks. Also, the oil filter housing is very famous for leaking oil due to the seals, the gaskets, so those have been replaced. They also need a new thermostat, which is actually not too bad. You just gotta remove the fan, remove the hose, and a couple bolts, and the thermostat is right there, and we replaced it. The engine also has new engine mounts. We also replaced the air springs. The rear air springs for the suspension has brand new air suspension, which should last for for a very long time. So I was having the issue where the vehicle was pretty much like the battery voltage was dying. Like you turn off the vehicle, lock it, and then within like the same day, we tried to turn the vehicle on, and it was completely dead. And at first I thought it was like the battery issues, so I got that replaced under warranty from Mercedes. They told me it was a battery, so it was replaced, but it wasn't the battery. So these have a battery control module, or BCM in short, which is located right here in the trunk. So I thought my issue was that, and I went ahead and replaced it with a used part on eBay because apparently they don't make them anymore. So that didn't solve the issue. So like I said, we replaced the battery on the warranty, and that wasn't the issue as well. So I also thought that the issue was, which actually also could have been the issue, was the alternator voltage regulator. So the alternator is right there in the bottom, and behind it has this voltage regulator which controls the voltage, and it has this piece where over time it wears out and it loses contact, and it doesn't meet the enough voltage, and it starts causing issues with like the issues I was having, which the car was dying, the battery was dying, and I really thought that was the issue, so we replaced it. And so you don't have to remove the alternator to replace that part. So we went underneath, removed a couple screws, but actually one or two of the screws, they were really over tightened, and they were actually damaged, and so we had no choice but to remove the alternator. So that was one thing. Removing the alternator is quite a bit of work, but it's actually not too bad. I'm gonna lose coolant, and then you have to remove a couple of things. But once the alternator was off, we went ahead and replaced the voltage regulator, and it was actually pretty bad, and we replaced it, and it seemed to fix the issue for a little bit. But after a day or two, the car was completely dead as well. So I took it to a shop and had them check it out. So when we took it to the shop, they figured out what the issue was, and it all came to the radio. So it was losing some type of connection in the system, and once one system loses connection, then it drains out the voltage, the battery, and that's what was pretty much causing my vehicle to die. So what my vehicle had was called a parasitic draw, which was the radio completely taking out the voltage from the vehicle and causing it to completely die off. But the only bad thing is I don't have a radio, it doesn't work, but at least my car turns on and is not dying. But later I can upgrade to an aftermarket system, which is going to be an upgrade. Also, like the E55, we did transmission work on the CLS. Originally it only had torque converter issues on the original 200,000 mile transmission. If you guys don't know, this CLS has right now 203,000 miles. It's about to hit 204,000 miles. So meanwhile, when I was having the parasitic draw issue, I was also having a transmission rebuilt, which was actually the transmission I bought used from eBay for the E55, and I decided to rebuild it, rebuild a torque converter, send it to a shop that we actually knew, we were close to, and it was replaced. So once that transmission was replaced, which actually had 98,000 miles, the one I bought used from eBay, so I sent it to the shop and they replaced it, and it was actually on for like almost 2 months. But surprisingly, after 2 months and less than 1,000 miles, the car transmission started to slip pretty bad, and it left me stranded. So it turns out the guy that we actually knew and that we were close to, he pretty much scammed us. And I told him, hey, can you please rebuild the transmission? I want it to be good, I want it to last. And he said, yeah, I got you. He did send the torque converter to be rebuilt because he doesn't do that. And it turned out that when they gave him the torque converter, it was actually from a S430 Mercedes, and it wasn't a M113K or 55 torque converter, which is very important because these have a lot of torque. You can't put a non-AMG transmission or torque converter onto these cars. Also, the oil pump was damaged. There was a couple clutches, seals that he didn't replace as well, that they got burnt. And so the guy, he actually left to his home country for a couple months for vacations like he always does. But yeah, he pretty much didn't help in anything. I told him to pay me back, because I had to pay for another guy who actually knows transmission work, especially these 5-speed transmissions from this era, to rebuild it. And yeah, I pretty much waited for the other guy to come in, and the guy who actually was supposed to do the work, which was, we thought he was somebody that we can trust, he left. And we lost communication with him. So the new tech that rebuilt it, he came in, he charged us a reasonable price to rebuild it, because he knew the shop owner and the shop who did the work. And he decided to help us out. But he removed the transmission. Well, actually, he didn't do it, another guy didn't, but he only did the whole internal work, transmission, rebuilding it. And they put it back on, and then the next day it started to slip again. And that's when they told us that the oil pump was bad, and I had to order a new oil pump from SAP Euro, which was actually about I believe $650 my price, which is not too bad. I thought it was gonna be more expensive, but yeah, the transmission has a new torque converter. It's actually built with new clutches and seals, and it has a brand new OEM Mercedes oil pump. So yeah, it sucks that we got scammed, especially from a guy that we thought we could trust. But basically what he only did was he just sent the torque converter to get rebuilt. He didn't rebuild it internally like we told him to, and he pretty much charged us like he did. And now he has our money. He's not going to pay us back, and we're actually not going to deal with him anymore, obviously. But it's just sad because I spent my money on tows, on parts, and I should have done just from the beginning, sent it to a different shop. They actually knew what they were doing, and I wouldn't have had to pay the double the price. But it is what it is. The car so far has been driving great. Like I said, everything is stock on it right now, and this is how I'm planning on leaving it for now. So the CLS55 is actually for sale, if anybody's interested. It's been up for sale for a couple of weeks, and I haven't really gotten any true or honest offers. So if the car doesn't sell within the next couple of weeks, I'm just going to keep it, because I really like the CLS. Like I mentioned in previous videos, the body style is just very beautiful, very unique design, very aggressive style. Just feels more sportier than the E55. Way better front end look, in my opinion. But obviously the E55 is more iconic. The E-Class has been around for a longer time than the CLS. But both the CLS and the E55 hold a special place in my heart. So that's pretty much all the major maintenance I've done to all my Mercedes. I spend more money on transmission work than anything else, especially for both the AMGs. But now they have fresh, transmissions. They should last for many years. And yeah, I'm planning on keeping them stock on my cars. In my opinion, it's just better to keep them stock in terms for reliability, and to for collector's items. A lot of people prefer to buy these vehicles stock, original, so I'm going to keep it like that as much as I can. Out of all the 3 Mercedes that I showed you guys in this video, you guys let me know which ones you guys prefer or prefer to keep. But for now, this is how my garage is looking, and maybe do a couple of things here and there, but you know, you guys stay tuned for more future videos. Thanks for watching.